At that, when you're talking that 14 range, that's like smarter than probably half the party at least.
Well, I mean, the one game that we ran, the Barbarian had a 13 intelligence, and he was the smart one in our party, so would definitely be smarter than all of them. I'm Nerdarchist Ted.
And I'm Nerdarchist Dave.
Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds.
All right, so today we're going to talk about how to get more attunement slots for your character, sort of. I mean, one of the limiting factors in 5e is you can only attune to 3 magic items at a time. But there are some ways that we could probably pump that number up. Obviously, being an artificer, I think they eventually get like 5 of them.
6.
6 of them, they get a bunch.
But, you know, not everyone is going to be playing an artificer. You know, this might not be an issue for your games, but if you happen to be getting an abundance of magic items that require attunement, and you happen to have some extra things within your party, then there just might be a way. That
it's very specific to certain classes, for sure, right? Like, you can do this if you're an artificer, a paladin, ranger, warlock, or wizard. I don't think there's anyone else that can really do it. Maybe there is a way to do it with, you know, some feats as well. But for or bard, which are magical secrets. But for the most part, you know, it's those classes primarily.
So we're really looking for this. It's not about you getting extra attunement slots. It's going to be for your beast companion, your paladin steed, your wizard or warlock familiar, or your Beastmaster companion, whether you happen to go with, you know, the original Beastmaster, or if you're looking more for the primal companion with the revised Ranger.
You know, one of the important things to kind of point out too is like when you're using these companions, they can be kind of limited into intelligence on the lower end of things without going to special familiars from the warlock, or if you acquire them in another way, you're looking at essentially a 2 to 8 range with, you know, the only ones where you're going to get that really like under a 4 is if you go with the Beast Companion Ranger from the original Beast Companion.
Now, if you happen to be a warlock and you happen to grab that, you know, those special familiar with Pact of the Chains, you know, Imp, Quasit, Sprite, you know, Fairy Dragon, you're actually dealing with a pretty decent range of 7 to 14 for intelligence. And for the most part, they're all pseudo-humanoid as well. So some of the things that we might talk about as problematic might not even be an issue for them.
That's true. And also, too, I feel like when you're talking that 14 range, that's like smarter than probably half the party at least.
Well, I mean, the one game that we ran, the Barbarian had a 13 intelligence, and he was the smart one in our party, so would definitely be smarter than all of them. But hey, you like this video so far, and other videos like it, as well as all the awesome content that we do over on nerdarchy.com, and you want to show us some love and some support, why not come check us out on Patreon and help us out over there?
Like this article up here, you can check out Broken or Killer Combo for D&D Animal Companions.
All right, so when it comes to magic items that require attunement, I mean, obviously, you know, your awesome swords and axes, weapons, that kind of stuff, it's going to be a lot harder for, you know, companions and stuff to use unless they're made specifically for them. So I think the idea we're looking at is going to be more in the wondrous item bracket. Your crowns, your rings, your belts, that kind of fun things. But in order to really break it down even further, we kind of have to dive into the actual wording of those particular companions. Now, we looked at the revised Ranger that has the Beast Companion of the Land, the Drake Warden Ranger, as well as the Artificer, all have very similar dialogue, almost as if it's kind of cut and pasted, you know, through. So I'm going to grab that up over on D&D Beyond. In combat, I'm using the Artificer at this point in time. The Defender shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but only takes its action on your turn is the dodge action, unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. This action can be one that's stat block or some other action. If you are incapacitated, blah, 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 blah. So the part that is important is or some other action. Use an item is a standard action that all characters have the ability to take. And when it says some other action, that means, hey, you got a circlet of blasting or, you know, some other kind of item use thing, go ahead and slap it on your companion, they're going to be able to use it.
Yeah, activate an object, a magic item is said action right now. In comparison to the original Ranger, right? And this is the prototype, I guess, right? The beast obeys your commands as best as it can. It takes a turn on your initiative. On your turn, you can verbally command the beast where to move. No action required to you. Can use your action to verbally command it to take the attack, dash, disengage, or help action. If you don't issue a command, the beast takes the dodge action once you have the extra attack feature. Basically, the only thing you can do with it is make it attack. So if you're using the standard beast companion out of the player's handbook, the only thing you're really going to be able to do is have it wear magic items that kind of enhance it.
Yeah, belt of giant strength, not so bad. You can slap that on your wolf, and now your wolf is biting through trees and ogre legs, with equal abandon. But it's not going to be able to activate those magic items if you're using the default Ranger and not the revised. But it doesn't stop at just those. The Steel Defender, the revised Ranger, and the Drake Warden are all great. But we also talked about the Find Familiar. So I'm going to pull that up over here and, trying to have things some ready. So your familiar acts independently of you, but it always obeys your commands. In combat, it rolls its own initiative and acts on its own turn. A familiar can't attack, but it can take other actions as normal. And when you kind of go even further with Find Steed, it's a superior animal because it's kind of divinely driven, but it has no limitations on the actions it can take either. And some generous GMs I've seen actually even give it the ability to have a language. So that's another factor to consider.
Yeah, we'll get into like the complications of that. Shortly, but you could have your familiar activate a magic item, which as long as it's not directly attacking, bag of beans or bag of tricks, things of that nature. Summon, conjure an earth elemental from an earth elemental stone, and then there's Find Steed for paladin. They actually don't have any limitations at all. It just does whatever. There's no real restrictions there. It has a 6 intelligence, but it cannot speak.
So I guess we'll get into those complications. We talked about the limitations of actions. Not all companions, whatnot, are going to have hands. And as Dave kind of pointed out, a lot of them don't have the ability to speak. So if something it needs a command word to be said, well, that's not going to work. But if it's something of, you wear the object and you spend charges, unless it specifically says that you have to do a particular action or say a particular word, you're going to be able to use those kind of things. And, as I already kind of mentioned, if you're talking about something that just increases, armor class, saving throws, stats, you can just kind of put it on and voila.
Yeah, now your Drake Warden's Drake speaks Draconic, so it can actually activate things with a verbal component to it. All your special familiars can speak as well, so they're going to be able to activate things as well, so you can do that. And also there's a caveat to this as well. There are certain magic items that actually give you access to speak languages. I had this come up in one of the games we were playing. I had my Steel Defender attuned to, I think it was an earworm or one of the parasitic things from Eberron, slurped it up, attuned to it. Now my Steel Defender speaks deep speech. Nobody else in the party does. So no one can understand what he's saying when he does choose to talk. He still only has a 4 intelligence. But technically he would be able to learn a word and say the word and activate a magic item. So even then there might be, ways around that as well.
So, I've even played a game where we found a sword doesn't require attunement, but literally just having that item on you add a new language. Now, I already speak a language, so adding Draconic just meant I understand and can speak it. I guess it would be up to the DM that gave the item as to whether or not it would grant speech to something that doesn't already speak a language, but, those kind of fun things are indeed out there.
Yeah, and again, like we said, there are quite a few familiars that would be able to speak. The Drake Wardens, Drake can speak, so you can use it in that way as well. But then there's a bunch of magic items that are kind of ambiguous, like the Circlet of Blasting, which just says it allows you to cast the Scorching Ray spell. Which, you know, generally when a magic item does that, I don't take that as you're actually physically casting it. The spell just originates from the item, you know. So I don't think you don't have to use the components that would normally be associated with the spell.
I would agree.
Now, the DM at your table may totally disagree. There, you know, there's the caveat to that as well. So that is totally a thing.
Now, if you happen to be looking for some, you know, fun new things to add to your game that fall into, you know, a Paladin's mount, you might want to check out Chimes of Discordia Fantastical Mounts, a resource for 5th edition game masters and players alike with 5 new unique mounts ready for your game from our Chimes of Discordia campaign setting. Inside, you'll find information and rules for these creatures with regards to trade goods, training, and adding flavor to your campaign world. There's even multiple versions of the different mounts we introduce. Perhaps even find your druids assuming the guise of a Dranther or Kangaram in your game.
Down in the comments below, why don't you share your fun stories of different companions, henchmen, whatever, in your game using those excess magic items instead of getting rid of them and making sure they go to use.
While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, even come on back and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video.
Quick reminder, we put up videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so come on back. But you can't wait till then. No worries, we got you covered. There's a card up here where you can check out 5 best beast companions for a ranger.
So until next time, stay nerdy.